2025 arrives in style, fireworks and festivities light up the globe.
We trust that 2025 will be a year of joy.
Warri Refinery restarts to stimulate economic growth.
There are extreme belief that this company can restart this plant, and this has brought this result on the table.
And Nigerians benefit from federal government transport palliatives.
70,000 from here to Imo State. But getting it this amount, 75, is a relief.
And a good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall focus on vision for the new year 2025.
Oh yeah, it's a brand new day. Oh yeah, it's a brand new week. Oh yeah, it's a brand new month. Of course, it's the first Wednesday of 2025, and hooray! Some will say we made it into the new year, but I would say we made it into the new year by the grace of God.
True.
Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Happy New Year, Claire. I'm super excited this morning. Happy New Year to everyone out there, and of course to our esteemed viewers. It's a great joy, to be alive this first day of 2025, and of course we welcome you to the very first episode of Good Morning Nigeria for 2025.
And of course, what you are saying is, a sign of what to expect from women. But let me start with a question. What's your vision for 2025? I mean, every year, beginning of every year, we all make New Year resolutions. For many of you, it might be a list of goals. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to achieve that. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great idea, because having a vision, or what some may call aspiration, or New Year resolutions, outlook, whatever you call it, that's the first step towards success.
Talking about New Year resolutions, could you share one or two of yours?
One of my resolve this year is that all things have passed away.
Well, all things have become new. Including promises to people?
Promises to people, promises to a director who just accused me, of course, promises to producer, promises to everybody, including you, of course, to the viewer. I promise this year to you, we will let you know at the end of the program.
I just hope you're not owing anyone anything, because that's bygone to you too. Alright, I'm just super excited. And speaking of visions, Nigeria's vision for 2025 is rooted in the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. This plan aims to diversify the economy, improve infrastructure, enhance human capital, and promote good governance.
Absolutely. Now, the priorities for the year, of course, will include crucial sectors like power, energy, agriculture, food, security, infrastructure development, and human capital or human resource investment.
No doubt Nigeria faces serious challenges in 2025. Security concerns, economic headwinds, and gaps in infrastructure. But there are also immense opportunities with a young, dynamic population, abundant resources, and a strategic position in Africa. We have the potential to turn these challenges into growth.
Indeed, and I wouldn't say we have challenges in 2025. I would say we have potentials to resolve, the unresolved, issues in 2024. But we even have greater prospect of building and sustaining the achievements of 2024. And so on today's episode of Good Morning Nigeria, we'll be examining the vision for Nigeria this year. And of course, that has been encapsulated in the development plans as you already, said. The progress made, we will be looking at that. The obstacles yet to be overcome. And we'll also have a panel of experts coming to analyze for us the global economic outlook and probably, of course, the IMF's forecast for Nigeria. And together, we will explore the possibilities and promise that 2025 holds, not just for our nation, but also for all of us. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurazak, and I thank you once again for beginning your new year with us on Good Morning Nigeria, and I'm glad to be with you.
I was super excited. I'm Henry John. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the NTA. As you know, we always bring you the very best. That hasn't changed, even if it's a new year. Chukwudi Okoli Blaja will join us for a newspaper review in the course of the program. All right, up next on the program is newspaper review.
All right, and joining us to review the headlines is Chukwudi Okoli Blaja, the man, Alex, choose the boy, the man with the boy's charm, but sharp wizard review.
And the Mahatma Gandhi glasses.
And the Mahatma Gandhi glasses.
I'm trying to go philosophical this year.
Chukwudi, let's start this year.
Hello, Claire.
Yes.
Passive resistance.
I said boy's charm.
Thank you, Claire. You know these things, we thank God for small persons. Hello, how are you, my dear? Happy New Year, ladies.
I see you, Chukwudi.
See you in 2025. All right, let's see what the papers have. We'll begin with the People's Daily this morning. The People's Daily leads with the statement from the DHQ. Bello Tuji, other terrorists are walking corpses, and that's according to the Defense Headquarters. Away from that, I guess I should take the picture story which says New Year celebrations across the world. We can see pictures from different parts of the world as they welcomed the year 2025. Right, away from the picture story now, just below the masthead. We arrested 2,425 criminals, recovered firearms, dangerous weapons, others in 2024. That's according to Kano Police. Man arrested for shooting friend during argument, stockpiling arms in Abuja. All of that on page 7 of the People's Daily. Looking at the bottom of the front page, just below the picture story, we have federal government targets 3 million barrels per day crude oil production by 2025. And then we have Uni Abuja unveils Professor Aisha Sani Maikudi as new Vice Chancellor. 2025, Nigeria survived 2024 only by God's grace. That's according to IPAC. Audit shows no major issue of data depletion on Nigeria's mobile networks, and that's according to NCC. Man allegedly impersonates Ambassador Fatima Goni, defrauds women groups. Alright, so those are the stories on the front page, or rather the headlines on the front page of the People's Daily this morning.
Okay, let's quickly take a look at the Daily Trust. And just below the nameplate, New Year, Tinubu, Abbas, Atiku, others deliver messages of hope. It's on page 5. And bandits abduct many passengers, burn vehicle in Zamfara. Professor Aisha Maikudi emerges Uni Abuja VC. 67 Senate members kick. That story is on page 55. But the lead story on the front page of the Daily Trust is credited to Bauchi State Governor, where he is urging President Tinubu to listen to Nigerians. That's in respect of the tax reforms. Tax reforms, listen to Nigerians, Bauchi government tells Tinubu. It's on page 4. FG retaliates, cautions Nigerians against trips to Australia. And of course, Gombe, Bauchi seek lifting of crude oil from Komani. CSOs slam FG for budgeting 146 billion naira for Lagos Metro line. Chixtable, what do you? I mean, the papers are quite not as frustrating, not as sorry, at least some good news.
Yes.
The military is giving us feedback of what happened in 2024. We also read from there.
Exactly.
Although the abduction there in Zamfara.
What baffles you is after reeling out these figures, 10,937 bandits, terrorists killed in 2024. That's coming from the military. And you say, and they keep coming. But then, in the last 3 months or so, something really has happened. You just heard the military. Then they told you, and the likes of him are walking corpses. And they have reason to be believed. The platform of credibility is created by the fact that some measure of decapitation, that's when you take out the heads of a terrorist group or unit, or whatever you're targeting as enemy territory, that's decapitation. So some measure of decapitation has happened. And if I were told you, Benno, I would by now be thinking about either giving myself up or taking my mischief elsewhere. Fatal mischief, come to think of it. So the military has every reason to say that the war against banditry is moving forward. What they need is more support from us, because at the end of the day, this terrorism, the banditry, the kidnapping, they are all an ailment that blows no one any good, even the relatives of the kidnappers and bandits themselves.
Well, in terms of support, I think the government is actually doing quite well in terms of financial support, because security sector had always been given priority in terms of federal budgeting. For several years now, security has always remained one of the 3 top priority areas in terms of budgeting. I think what is needed most now, like the former CDS will say, is winning the heart of the people.
Yes.
There's also the need to also embrace the other parts of the house. The rehabilitation, the reconstruction aspect of the non-kinetic.
You're right. It's a chain.
Yes, so it's a chain.
It's a mix.
Exactly.
You apply that which best solves the situation. Don't have a bellicose, war-like attitude to crisis all the time. Sometimes dialogue can actually defeat the power of the bullet. So let's not banish anything from discussion, from negotiation, and all that. I think we are palpably, you could almost touch it, winning gradually.
Yes, we are winning gradually. Like you said, you're almost touching it. I mean, you could feel it.
Yes.
All the pockets of these things happening there. But honestly, I think we've gotten some respite, for some time now. And also, don't forget Chukwudi and Ere, that there's also need to build trust and confidence among the people. If you recall the arrest that was made of the woman, of the arms, the woman carrying arms, it was due to intelligence gathering. People provided information, and that's because they're beginning to build confidence. So we need to step on that, consolidate on that, so that more of such intelligence, driven response.
And that and that confidence also involves how much security those who are going to blow the whistle feel from your quarters. Very important. There are many Nigerians who want to speak up about criminality, but they are afraid, for their lives. And
and I'm hoping that the saying that if you say something, you see something will be reversed.
See something, say something.
Yeah, so that
tax reforms. Listen to Nigerians. Bauchi governor tells Chinundu.
Well, first of all,
details.
Okay, go on.
The details are on page 4. The governor is again saying that President Tinubu should listen to Nigerians who are opposed to some aspects of the tax reform bills.
Yes.
Of course, he has his own view, but the presidency has also, fired back. The special advisor to the president of media and public communication, Sunday Dare, yes, said that that was inflammatory rhetoric, and that a direct threat towards the federal government.
I don't think I qualify to re-instruct the president's aides that this practice of when they say something, you fire back something, it doesn't really mean much to me. Action speaks louder than words. The presidency should go on with those programs it honestly believes that will favor Nigerians in the long run, and in the long run. And all this talk back, and I don't really think it's very necessary.
There are two things too, true, and I would like your candid. First of all, he's saying the president should listen to Nigerians. Isn't the president listening to Nigerians?
If it's about the tax reforms, to be candid, is it every segment of Nigeria that is talking about the tax reforms? There are intricacies involved in this tax matter. And I want to tell you that a lot of the brouhaha stems from the fact that sentiment creeps into governance from time to time. I'm not saying that government should not listen when a veritable, a sizable part of the Nigerian population speaks up concerning something. But then somebody will tell you, why is it one segment of the country that is talking about tax reform?
It's not a segment.
I think
it's not a segment.
I think it's largely a northern matter. It is.
Yes, but the governor of Bauchi has his own personal views. It's not all the governors from the north that share his sentiments about the tax reform. And again, let's put listening to Nigerians into context. With, in relation to tax reforms, we've seen a lot of workshops, town hall meetings, trying to enlighten Nigerians on the technicalities. In fact, there are many technicalities that Nigerians don't really understand. In fact, I don't think I have read the tax reform. Have you seen it? Some of us have not even seen it.
If I read it, I will
you will understand it.
Yes, because when it's about figures, I run away. But I think
not just about figures.
It's mostly print now, material to use up and all that. The pros and cons of it and all that.
My points about the tax reform bills and all the uncertainty in different quarters, about it is the fact that when government comes up with whatever it is, it should be as simplified as possible. I mean, if from the very beginning, when this reforms, it was clearly spelled out how it's going to be and all of that, such that the average Nigerian can pick this document, read it, and understand what it's saying in entirety. I'm not sure a lot of people will be confused and be kicking against it at this point. Do you understand? So sometimes the messaging, like you always say that, Chukwudi, the way the message is sent out in the first instance goes a long way in whether it is accepted or not. Because once there's already a confusion from the first time the message is out, it will take a longer time to get people cleared and to accept it.
I watched, just before we round up, Chukwudi, I watched and listened to a presentation on this graphic presentation, and I think I got an understanding of what was and what will be when the tax reform is eventually being implemented. And I think a lot of us will have to be patient, come and listen and read and ask for clarifications, yes, on certain policies, because you see, if you want change, it doesn't come easy. Change does not come easy.
It doesn't come easy, and the reason I said I was not trying to divide up Nigeria when I said that a segment of the country seems to be talking about this more. It's actually that derivation aspect of that caused all that. Now, some people will tell you that if more goods are consumed some goods are more consumed in some areas, tele-density is one of it and all that, that it's only natural that the people around that place would benefit. But then we have been used to let's share it all. So new habits are not going to find it easy to sink into us.
By the way, it's not just that aspect of the tax.
It's not just that aspect.
I mean, there are other aspects.
That's a sore point.
I think we should leave. Efforts are still being made to enlighten Nigerians about
exactly. The enlightenment should be applauded.
Yes, so efforts are still being made. Chukwudi, we are signing you off with Enyimba. Enyimba has lost all matches. Well, drew some. 13 matches as the Nigerian Premier League ends. One of the giants. Anyway, Chukwudi,
you're signing me off. Giving me more domestic headache is not going to attract my attention.
When was the last time you watched the match played by Enyimba?
I don't think I've watched any Nigerian club in the past 1 year. Let's develop our football. I'm not going to throw sentimental patriotism to it. I won't.
This is 2025. That's what my producer says. Chukwudi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope to see you tomorrow. We'll take a break. When we get back, we'll get into the conversation. It's on 2025. You want to see this? Stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of BNTA, and to begin our conversation on vision for the new year 2025. Let's see this background report with together by our correspondent Ibrahim Dan Hamidou.
The start of a new year is a time for renewal and reflection. As Nigerians from all walks of life celebrate the arrival of 2025, many are thinking about what they want to achieve in the next 12 months. For some, last year was a struggle, and they are adopting a wait-and-see approach, eager to see how the first quarter of 2025 unfolds. Several Nigerians hope for a break this year, meaning they expect less pressure on their purchasing power and some ease after the previous year's hassle. As individuals set their personal goals, the government has also outlined its vision for 2025. From infrastructure development to economic diversification, the aim is to create a more prosperous and sustainable future for all Nigerians. From entrepreneurs looking to expand their businesses to students aiming to excel in their studies, Nigerians are filled with hope and optimism for the year ahead. As the country begins this new chapter, many people ask, what does 2025 hold for Nigeria? Guests on the program will discuss the country's prospects for economic growth, development, social security, and progress in the new year.
Indeed, I'd like to thank you, Ibrahim, for the background that will lead us into our conversation, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that the need for a vision 2025 for Nigeria is, of course, never more needed than now. In diverse sectors of the economy, from the economic to infrastructure development and human resource building and all of that. Of course, we have our distinguished guests right here in the studio, and hopefully we will chart a course for Nigeria in 2025. Let me begin. We have a number of guests, but let's quickly introduce those that are here with us at the moment. Reverend Father Ama Silvanus, Director, Radio Maria 91.3 FM in Abuja. Of course, he was with us here when we were celebrating Christmas. Happy New Year to you, Father.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, also here with us for the conversation is Dr. Musa Olaofe, the Chief Imam and Saudi Society of Nigeria, Abuja branch, and also an Associate Professor of Islamic Studies. He is the HOD Islamic Studies Department, University of Abuja. Many thanks for joining us, Doctor. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Alright, so maybe we should kickstart the conversation. I just got a note from Claire. So I think my first question will be to the Reverend Father Ame Silvanus. This is 2025. First and foremost, how do you feel about the new year? Do you what's your a lot of prophets and people in the religious circle, of course, have a vision that they have for the year, what they have seen, what they have prayed about, what God has told them. So just share with us some of that.
Okay, let me begin by saying Happy New Year to all of us, again, and to all Nigerians. It's a gift that God has given to us, another day and another year, and we are thankful for being a part of the year 2025. With every coming day, actually, not just every year, every coming day, people have new hopes. Every day gives us new hope, and we begin a new month, the same thing. But it is a bit on the heightened side when it is a new year entirely, because we are leaving a whole chunk of a calendar year to move to another, and that's why there is always that euphoria that comes with this time, the beginning of a new year. And with each new year comes also new hope. People are hoping for something better, hoping for a future that is better than what they've had, the experiences they've had, and they also pray that God will bless the year. But if God has given us the privilege of being a part of a day, a part of a week, a month, a year, He has already made provisions for us for that time. God will not lead us to where He has not made some provisions waiting for us. It is okay to have all of these visions, not say visions, to have all of these aspirations rather for a new year. As for the declarations of men of God at this time, I see them as prayer points. That's how I take them. They are prayer points, not all or not necessarily visions. Some people say God told me, God said, God, and at the end of the time, what they categorically said God said will happen, we don't see, and people begin to question, did God speak, did God not speak, are they speaking their minds and saying it is God who spoke, those kind of things. And this raised doubts in the minds of believers. It also shakes the faith of people. So it is best to see them as prayer points. I am praying for you. I am praying that all of us will have this kind of experience. It's better. For this year 2025, personally, I am praying for myself and for all Nigerians and everybody that it will be our year of labor for favor. That is to say, let our labor favor us. Yeah, because a lot of people cried in the past year that so much work was done, but they didn't get to see the fruit of their labors. And as Isaiah 65:21 says that we shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit, we shall build houses and inhabit them. This is my prayer for Nigerians, that the work we do, let us see the fruit of our labor. This is my prayer. So I wouldn't want to talk about visions, because sometimes it is people who are speaking their own minds and saying it is God who is speaking through them. That's a different conversation entirely.
But God does speak through some.
Of course, yes, God does. But what I'm saying here is that it has become the case, as we see in most instances, that people just say, thus says the Lord, when God has not spoken.
Okay. The same question Aaron asked was what I was going to start with. So it's like, yes, we have, someone said that our leaders today are like, clergymen. Of course, they prophesy, they see visions, and they tell us the things that we want to hear, and at the end of the day we understand. So I'm just going to ask, within the context of our conversation, I want to ask Professor Dr. Olafe, what's your vision for Nigeria? Your personal vision for Nigeria?
You see, every reasonable Nigerian must have good vision for this country, because we have no other country than Nigeria. Nigeria as a country is being blessed by Almighty Allah the Creator, even including our leaders, even the followers who have been blessed. But if you look at the country of the world, Nigeria is a country that there is nothing you ask. Other countries were even asking that God has never given to Nigeria. In terms of natural resources, in terms of human resources, everything is fully, given to Nigeria in abundance. And my vision for Nigeria is that let all of us be focused. Let's think of way forward. We should forget about the past and be thinking of how do we make Nigeria to be greater anywhere that ourselves in Nigeria, even outside the country, even when we see ourselves as Muslims and Christians, there should be no discrimination, because development does not have anything to do with discrimination. Religiously, we should be very firm. You know, even the spiritual aspect of it. You can be praying for Nigeria without even going to anywhere, even within yourself, to make Nigeria great. Because your vision is that when you see something wrong, why can't you correct it at that point in time, instead of you saying that this is none of my business, I'm not from the south, I'm not from the north, I'm not from the east, anything can happen. No. If we really want good vision for Nigeria, let all of us work together as one family and see ourselves as a good citizen that want good things for this country. So that vision is very, very important. Crossover. Some people yesterday, when they were discussing about the country Australia, they started this 2025 before us, they are saying it. All these people we are talking about, they have plan for themselves. They have plan for their life. They have plan for so many things we do. We've been to so many countries and we see how they are behaving, how they are doing. So if government is ready to assist, government is ready to do so many things, even we need to cooperate with them and let them realize that security, we want us to live in peace. In terms of food, we want everybody to enjoy food. We want everybody to live fine, even accommodation, even building, infrastructure. All those things are very, very important. It makes us to be a good Nigerian. Those who are living in a rented apartment, they don't have money to pay. Those who have children, they don't have money to send their children to school. Had it been that they have good vision for themselves before coming to Nigeria, you must have your personal vision. What do you want to do? If it is 2 children, 3 children God has given to you, you focus on them and make sure that you give them education, adequate one, strong one, and at the same time, you let them realize that they have not a country to go to than Nigeria.
Your vision is so all-encompassing. Very well. I mean, you have just captured, the broader expectations of everybody. The whole of Nigerians. Every Nigerian wants security, wants planes, wants to move around, wants 3 square meals on the table, if possible 4. My colleague here and sister, would want to, at the end of the day, have very robust, pocket, and all that. That's talking about remuneration, and all that. But a vision without strategic plan of bringing to birth is just mere wish. Nigeria's vision is encapsulated in the development plan 2021 to 2025, and it's built into different compartments: economy, infrastructure, human capital development, and of course good governance. This is the vision put within that bracket by the present administration. Let's begin to take them one by one. Economy, for instance. Reverend Father Amir, how do we, the vision now is probably to reduce inflation, from 31 point something percent to about 14% by 2027. Is that right? What do we go about?
Well, I am not an economic expert, so there's a limit to which I can speak about
answer
issues like this. Yes, but from what an average Nigerian wants to see, we want to see policies that actually work. They are not policies that are in principle on paper. Okay, it is okay to have these broad visions. It is okay to encapsulate them and say between this time and this time we want to achieve this. That is the ideal way to go. To have broad visions broken down into small achievable parts. That's
the long term and short term.
Yes, that is the way to go. But again, what Nigerians want to see is how are these policies being implemented? If in an organization, if an organization has a goal, the members of that organization should be able to understand how that goal will be achieved. That is how the leaders can drive everybody together towards the achievement of that goal. have a goal as an organization and your members will not know how it is going to come about, it is just within those in the managerial circle, then it becomes difficult because those in management will be doing one thing to push that goal, whereas the rest of the members of that organization are doing something contrary that will frustrate the effort of those in management. So it is something that everybody must be working together for a common purpose, and this is what I think is lacking. This is what I think is lacking in our in our country at the moment. The goals are encapsulated, yes, but how do we make them happen? As a Nigerian walking on the street, as a market woman, what role can I play to contribute to the achievement of that goal?
Precisely.
Like Dr. Musa did say, it's our collective home. We don't have another one, and if it must work, all of us must have the will to commit to making it work. But if I am expected to make Nigeria work, what exactly am I going to do as per the individual goals that have been set for the country? If I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I may be doing something that is contrary to the idea or the ideal that we expect to achieve. So as it concerns these goals that have been set by government, what I think that needs to be done, the National Orientation Agency and media houses like this have to be carried so that they can break these things down, and every Nigerian can know that this is where we are going, this is how we get there. As an individual, this is what I need to do to contribute to the achievement of this goal.
But what should the people do? Because, for instance, now you touched on something. The federal government declared reduced transportation for travelers during Christmas. I mean, if we played the video back to you, you'd be amazed at how much that has affected travelers, especially those going to the east, where the cost is almost 100,000. I mean, if you have to pay 17,000 for a fare that ordinarily would have cost you 70,000-80,000, I mean, that's substantial. But the people implementing that policy, for instance, now, what should be their role in helping us to reduce inflation, in helping us to reduce the cost of things? Now, you understand where I'm driving at?
Okay. Let's go by the example you gave on transportation costs. We do understand, I think we had this conversation on Christmas Day about market forces affecting the prices of commodities and everything, and goods and services. Yes. So where there is high demand, oftentimes there is also increase in price. The argument of transporters is people leaving cities to the states.
No, this is already subsidized by federal government. So what is needed?
It is
the tourism.
If it has been subsidized by the government, yes. We also ask the question: how has the price of fuel come down to the point that people are able to also bring down transport costs? Do you understand? I bought fuel outside of Abuja just a few days ago, 1,100 naira per liter. 1,100 per liter.
From what cost originally?
From in here it used to be 1,120. So 1,100 naira. That's not a significant change that will affect the cost of transport. Do you understand? Granted that there is a small reduction in price, but overall, how does that affect my ability to reduce transport costs if I was a transporter? Do you understand? So these factors, the people generally, I think that as a people, we also have a problem with helping one another to an extent, because when it comes to business like this, oftentimes and very sadly, we see some Nigerians trying to exploit others given the opportunity. This should not be the case. It should not be the case. We must be committed to making things work for each other, because if we are complaining that the government is not doing A and not doing B, and we ourselves, we are not doing C and not doing D, then we are making the whole situation more complex. There is a lot that we need to do. So if we use the metrics that have been put down, then we should be able to say that in this light, every Nigerian should be working towards this direction, and that way it makes it easier for everybody to move along. But if these things are not clearly humiliated, then we'll be going our different ways and then we'll have chaos. These are the issues.
All right, many thanks, Reverend Father. Let's get to Dr. Olaufe now. Reverend Father, I've tried to look at the economy and what we could do. But I'd like you to speak about security. For me, and I mean, if you want to look at every other sector, they can only thrive when there's security. I mean, when people can move about, when there's safety, when you can sleep at night, when you can go to your farms and all of that, whether it's the economy, agri sector, anything, even transportation. I mean, people will not want to move, they're not sure they'll be safe on the roads. But, looking at where we're coming from the past years and looking at 2025, what would you really want to see? What are your expectations? What do you think government can do? And even the people, because Reverend I said, well, it's both ways, government and the people. What we can do just to make sure that 2025 is a more secure year?
Well, we can see that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the President of Nigeria, has really done a very good work in terms of security, and all law enforcement agencies, security agencies do put heads together to assist this country. If you follow the event, especially what I saw on the network news yesterday, the statistics are out there. I see that every Nigerians live very peacefully. And you can see, let's say the truth, they have really tried in terms of security, because when you can sleep with your two eyes and wake up and do things the way you want, the way you like, that shows government intervention, is really working. So 2024 has gone. We are already in 2025. If they can continue like this, security at times, it is not something you can discuss openly. They have their own strategic way they do things. A lot of things have been done. Like they don't even need to tell you this is how we are doing it. So all what we are after, that we want Nigeria to live in peace, and we have been experiencing something of such even ever before this present administration came on board. So they have been doing that, and we can testify to that. We have the public, we have the Jama. We ask them question, how is your area? They will tell you the police are working, the civil defense are working, even the military, they are really working. And once the people say they are working, that's what they are really working. And we have even testified to that. So we want government to give them all the instruments, something needed, what they want to make it more effective. Because if the security and they are not being, officers are not being taken care of, they will not do anything. But if they are given their dues at the right time, you will see that they will really work and make sure that Nigeria live in peace. Because when we are peaceful, everything will be done. If you are not peaceful, when there is no peace, can you go to farm? You are farming and somebody came and kidnap you and carry you away. Will you go back to that farm again? Or you are harvesting, so they carry you and what you have harvested, and then they took you a known destination. So these are the things that are affecting us seriously. In fact, it's even affecting the economy. So that's why you see any subsidy, whatever given by the government to assist now, they've understood the cries of the masses that things are not easy. So, but we need to work together with government to make sure that every little thing you hear in your area that can bring chaos and anarchy, then you secretly, and then they work on it. So that is what can really help all of us in this country. In the olden days, we go to night vigil, we go to tahajjud. Nobody can do that again.
Honestly, I was going to ask, maybe when we come back from Saudi Arabia, yesterday, we went to Saudi Arabia. I think today I should be in Saudi Arabia, because Hamzat Lawal, Chief Executive Connected Development Code and founder, followed the money. Is joining us from Saudi Arabia. See, you are already looking like one. Hamza, Happy New Year to you.
Happy 2025. Good morning, Nigerians.
Let me just read. I don't know if you've seen Mr. President's New Year message. I haven't seen. I don't think Ari and I have seen. But what is online is saying that the president is promising a 2025, a year of great promise. And he said that in the coming months, the cries of Nigerians will not be in vain. That's his vision for Nigeria. What's your vision for Nigeria?
My vision for Nigeria is a country where there is no impunity, where there is equity, there's less inequality, where Nigerians can actually enjoy and afford the basic, where life itself would be sacred, where the rule of law will be paramount, where the law applies to everyone equally, irrespective of who you are or what segment of society you belong to. My vision for Nigeria is where young people are seen as partners towards progress, where they play their role, standing shoulder to shoulder, side by side, by older generation, where there's intergenerational dialogue, intergenerational equity, and where Nigeria would prosper, and each and every one of us would always ask ourselves, what is it that we can do for Nigeria, and how can we play our part for nation building? That's my vision for Nigeria in 2025.
Good to see you, and this follow the money, is it a foundation or whatever? It looks like I want to be a part of it, because I like the way you're looking. So anyways, well, we'll get back to you to tell us. Okay, I'm being told that I should stay with you in Saudi Arabia, which is a good thing. So you've spoken about what your vision is, but I want you to just put yourself, I know you're a young person, but yourself in the shoes of the very young Nigerian watching you this minute and excited about 2025. Tell us what you really would want for young people in this country. When I mean young people, I mean people who are looking forward to get an education, people who are looking forward to start a life, people who are thinking at this point, oh, this 2025, maybe it's a time to jackpot, or or to get into one thing or the other just so they can make ends meet. What would you want them to think, as they walk into 2025? What's your expectation? What do you see happening in Nigeria, and how would it affect the young people?
I think first is a mindset, and for young people out there watching, I think the most important element is you continue to grow, continue to play your role, and continue to prosper. To think about your mindset and how you protect your mindset. First, you must have a mindset that always want to learn. Not a mindset of entitlement, a mindset that you want to read, you want to learn, you want to know more, and a mindset that asks a lot of questions. After that is a mindset of you want to add value, you want to contribute, and for you to contribute or add value is to get education. Or you get a skill. You see, the world is changing, and the world is changing rapidly. Now the world is talking about artificial intelligence, and as a young person, that's an opportunity. How can you tap into this whole growing, emerging artificial intelligence market? What are the skills you want to get? What are the network you want to build? What are the connections you're actually building as a young person? And also is about what are your values? What are your principles? How does it align to the vision of the country and the goal of the president and the government? Because you see a lot of time pressure on our government, but I think our government is a reflection of us, and how have we also played our roles, as citizens. Again, citizenship, how we patriotic, how we lay out to our country, and how we supporting our country and the people that govern our country. Mr. President, in one of his speech, talk about creating an enabling environment for young people, and he made a call that there were going to be a conference of young people. Yes, we know in previous government we've had a conference, but in our country's history, political history and trajectory, we've never had a conference that brought about young people to talk to themselves and look at what is our vision and direction for our country and what role should we play. And if Mr. President is committing to this at the highest level, it means that whatever conversation is had, whatever communique and outcome that emerge, this would be And I think that what should happen now is the modality to make this a reality. What is the Minister of Youth doing? How is he working with stakeholders to present the operationalization and the modalities of this conference? How then he would ensure that every group, every stakeholder, when I say stakeholder and group, that deals with the young people, how are they going to be engaged? How are we going to select delegates that cut across the length and breadth of this country? How are we going to get the demography that represents the ideal young people of Nigeria so that we can come together, we can unite ourselves, talk to ourselves, and define a vision that affects us directly? Because you see, my generation is sadly a generation of broken promises. We've been promised a lot, but nothing has been given to us. But if you look at this current administration, we've seen integration, we've seen mainstreaming of women, young people and people with disability. Yes, I know that there's cloud advocacy for much more. At least this has given some hope. This has given some level of recognition. And I think we want to see much more. And as we want to see much more for ourselves, we need to also talk to ourselves and speak with one voice as young people. Because again, the baton of leadership would continue to exchange hands. And at some point, it will fall on our lap, either naturally or either, as a country we plan, while building the next generation of young people to lead and ensure that there is a consistent, sustainable development vision, that they would continue that trajectory. So again, is that we should seize this moment as young people, because God in his infinite mercy has allowed us, one, to be Nigerians, two, to be alive at this critical moment in our political history. So we must seize the moment, we must utilize the opportunity so we can write our names in gold and also form what becomes the history and the trajectory of this country.
All right, thank you very much, Hamzat Lawal, joining us via Zoom from Saudi Arabia. And while he was speaking, Rinsola Abiola, the SSC to the President on Citizenship and Leadership, walked into the studio, and we are glad that you are able to join us, Rinsola, and Happy New Year to you as well. So while we are still looking at the vision from the youth angle in 2025, let's relate it to the economy, because that's encapsulated in the National Development Plan, which is what this government is all out to do. At the moment, according to MBS, youth unemployment fell, from what it used to be in 2014, from 8 point something to 6.4. Now that's an improvement. But what do you want to see? What is your vision to further crash that down and get as many more, youths involved in building our economy?
So before I answer that, I would like to on a few things that Hamza said while making his own submission. Firstly, regarding the youth conference, there will be updates very, very soon. Mr. President is very committed to keeping his word. He is a leader who is very concerned about young people, and as I rightly noted, it's the first time that young people specifically have been invited to, speak their minds and offer their insights on how to develop this country and build the country that we all call home. So regarding the conference, I would like to assure Hamza and other young people who are expectant, on behalf of the Honorable Minister for Youth Development, Honorable Ayodele Olawande, that work is ongoing and there will be updates very soon. The Minister has been working relentlessly as well to ensure that we're able to get the conference done very soon.
Is there a timeline?
There is, but I would want the Minister to speak regarding that himself. So I certainly will be communicating that to him as well, but it's something that should happen within the first quarter of this year. Yes, God willing. So efforts are really, really on. The Minister is working tirelessly. Mr. President is very concerned and see it get done as soon as possible. So that much I can confirm, and I would like to assure our young people of that. Regarding economic empowerment for young people especially, there's really no way you talk about youth development without talking about economic empowerment. And there's something one of our leaders in the political sphere defined as stomach infrastructure. If you want to talk about to people about citizenship and about their responsibilities to their country, it's important that they're empowered, and that's been a major priority for this administration as well. And we're not just looking at empowerment from the angle of handouts or things that will not last. We're looking at actual strategic investments in our young people especially. We all know, the current economic situation. There actually have been a number of initiatives aimed at different subsets of the population and especially young people. There is a nano grant for small businesses, for nano businesses across the country that so many people have benefited from. There's also the fund by the Bank of Industry at single-digit interest rates for young business owners. The ministry as well Nigerian Youth Investment Fund, which was announced a couple of months ago, and which we also should have feedback on quite soon by God's grace. And there are quite a number of other initiatives. There's a 3 million technical talents program by the
Digital Economy
Ministry. And what that is doing is to help develop young people's potentials, especially considering the fact that we have, a global market for IT skills, and there is no reason why Nigeria cannot be the leading provider of service and of talent when it comes to that. So there's a National Talent Exports Program, there's the IDICE program for the creative sector. There's quite a lot of work that is ongoing by this administration, and it really shows our commitment to young people, not just when it comes to issues like policies, but also when it comes to economic empowerment, because that is what eventually will close the gap. As our young people are more economically empowered and they are more able to assert themselves, build their futures, set up and be comfortable, it helps them as well when we say, okay, these are matters of nation building, matters of citizenship and leadership, and we want you to participate in this. They're more willing to listen and to actually take it more seriously. However, I would also like a situation where the efforts being made at the federal level are also supported, complemented by efforts at the state level. And that's where I really think a lot of our young people also need to engage more at that level, because we found that when it comes to youth groups generally, and I think it's a general issue with citizens, there's a lot of attention on what is happening at the federal government, what is the president doing, what is the minister doing, but we don't see the same level of attention being paid to developments at state level. We've seen a number of states invest resources in initiatives for young people, but I would not say that the effort has been entirely commensurate to the kind of efforts being made at the federal level.
You mentioned you mentioned the 3 million digital economy, and I'm wondering, of course, the foundation was in 2014. What do you hope to see with that?
So we've had a number of young people, they've had different cohorts, and there have been a number of young people who have gone through the training, and others who are...
That's digital...
Yes, the 3M program. That's the digital trainings one, and then there's NITSTA as well. So there are a number of agencies under that ministry that also offer different kinds of trainings for young people. So there's NITSTA that does a lot of trainings as well. And then you also find that within the budget, when it comes to youth initiatives, particularly for instance, there is essentially every ministry or every MDA tends to have programs that are targeted at young people. So there's this thing that's recently been introduced by the Special Assistant on Youth Initiatives, Monitoring and Development. She also works very closely with the leadership of the youth ministry, and it's a dashboard. And what the dashboard does is to aggregate youth initiatives being done by all these different MDAs, so young people know where the opportunities are, how to apply for those initiatives, how to benefit from them. Because they're quite, if you look through the budget proposals for different agencies, you're very likely to find something targeted at young people that is related to the work that they do. So there's also a need to aggregate all of that to know what exactly is happening for young people, how much exactly is being invested in young people, and that's something that her office has been able to achieve since she was appointed.
All right, many thanks, Winter. Listening to you and talking about all the initiatives of government in trying to empower young people. I'd also like you to speak about what the government is doing and what 2025 would look like for the out-of-school children in this country. The numbers have not reduced, they've increased. And I mean, just speak to us about that, because that's key before you even talk about empowerment.
Yes. So, incidentally, my office has partnered with a leading non-government organization in Nigeria, essentially across the Chad basin countries, KDC Foundation, and the National Commission on Nigerian Out-of-School Children's Education, and quite a number of other agencies like the Nomadic Education agencies, quite a number of them like that. And we're working to convene a stakeholders conference on our Nigerian out-of-school children's education reform. So we actually need to properly understand what the issues are, what is leading to the numbers that we have, what can we realistically do to cater to our children who are out of school. And that I can speak on because my office is involved in that. The committee for that was inaugurated last year, 2024, and we've had quite a number of conversations regarding how best to convey that conference and ensure that the outcomes are actionable. And that's why we brought together all of the stakeholders. So it's not just my office as citizenship and leadership trying to see how we can fully develop the leadership potentials of our children, and we're understand that you cannot develop the leadership potential of young people or make them understand their responsibilities as citizens if you're not working on education and ensuring that they are properly educated. So that's one of the reasons why my office is leading that charge, and we're part of that coalition to look at these issues and then put recommendations forward. And the intention is to work with different stakeholders across government, the private sector, the non-profit sector, to actually see how we can actually address this and do so effectively. We've had a number of initiatives as well, and one thing that I would also like to commend the administration for, although I am part of the administration, is the fact that the very first grant I believe was announced following the removal of subsidies was the one that targeted nano businesses, really small businesses that are mostly run by young people who don't have formal education. They are mostly the ones that you find running those businesses. Most of the beneficiaries were people who are have running really small businesses, like our youth who maybe push by market, our youth who have these small cobbler businesses, the mobile tailors. And it's because we understand that the youth demography is not homogeneous. And when we talk about government interventions, they cannot only be targeted at people who can connect to the internet, apply online, fill forms, bring CAC certificates. We have millions of young people in the informal sector running those really small businesses who need those interventions as well. So it actually really does show that the government is very concerned about our young people, irrespective of, young people across social class, young people across economic class, young people whether they're in school or outside of school. And another thing we're also working on from my office as well, there's an agency that my office supports. I wouldn't say supervises, because the executive does not have oversight functions over other executive agencies, but there's an agency my office supports. It's called the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. It's a pre-independence parastatal. If I say Manowo, I'm sure you'll all be able to relate, but it's the parent body of the Manowo organization. And what CLT does, as the name implies, is to instill those values of good citizenship and leadership in young people particularly. They have training schools across the country. So one of the things that my office is working at really hard is to ensure that we're able to reform that organization and revitalize it and bring it up to speed in line with current global standards. What should that organization look like in the current day? What should that organization be doing in the current day? And one of the ways we're aiming to do that is to actually repeal and reenact the law that establishes it. We have a bill now before the National Assembly, sponsored by the House Committee, by the chairman of the House Committee on Youth. And one of the key things that we want to do through that act or through that agency is to be able to engage our young people who are outside of the formal education system. So we have NYSC that caters to young graduates. There is nothing for people who are outside of that university system. NYSC has maybe approximately about 320,000, 340,000 graduates who go through it every year. But what then happens to the millions of other young people who are not university graduates or are not in universities or even higher institutions of learning at all? The young people who are learning a trade, the young people who belong to organizations like motorcycle riders, keke riders. What happens to all those young people who don't have an NYSC scheme to go through to learn about their country, to serve their country? And what we want is for CLTC to be able to cater to that demographic of young people so that there is no young person left behind. This is an administration that is truly committed to ensuring that we have programs and we have initiatives that young people are able to benefit from, irrespective of whether they're learned, irrespective of whether they're well-to-do, irrespective of whether they're wealthy, irrespective of whether they speak English like this and can comprehend it like this. We want to meet young Nigerians where they are. But it's going to take... Yes,
no, finish up.
Okay, but it's been a work in progress. I was appointed November 11, 2023, and I began working on that bill essentially the moment I was appointed. The bill was drafted by the leadership of CLTC. Now before the House, it takes a while. So when you have a bill before the National Assembly, there's a number of processes that it will go through. But all of these things are in progress, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity.
What the average youth watching us now would like to really know is, what does all of what you have said translate, for them in real terms? But probably when we come back, because we will also engage, the clergymen here with us as well. We've tried to, get them into the technicalities of the matter, but that's not their forte. Yes. So, but let's bring Hamza. Hamza, one of the items in the 2025 budget was that the economy, the government would drive an economic growth of 5% in real terms. And some economic analysts felt that could be ambitious, but of course the drivers of that might be, over dependence and on import dependence. Of course, reliance on all revenue and all imports. Luckily, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel in the area of fuel. What do you think could or should happen this year to be able to hit that 5% mark, economic growth mark?
It's great that the government is ambitious, and I think right now we need a government that is actually ambitious, because we need to drive economic growth and also sustain it. But I think that most importantly, we need to actually diversify our economy. We cannot be heavily dependent on oil and putting benchmark on oil, knowing that prices are dwindling or crash, then it affects our income. And I think, as a country, we must have honest conversation around tax system. And for me, I've always advocated for taxing the rich. How can we tax the rich more that buy luxury goods, so that maybe they can look inwards and invest in our industries, and then we can export? Because you see, the world is waiting for us to serve them. Because there are two ways you can make revenue. Either you provide goods or you provide services. And I think that there's no length and breadth of this world that you go to that you not see in Nigeria. And I think we must, and if you look at the FX contribution of people in diaspora, last time I checked was over 20 billion. But most importantly, how can we harness all of these potentials and opportunities? Export goods and services, refine goods and services, export them, so that we can attract more into our country. But I think that the government must also see young people as a potential partner towards driving this economic growth. Because if you look at the workforce, if you look at the population, it is young people. If you look at the innovative idea, if you look at that energy, it is young people, and we are over 65% of the population. How can we harness this potential? How can we leverage on this potential to build economic growth, sustain this economic growth, heal and bring down inflation, because inflation sadly is eating us up as a people, and this has reduced purchasing power for everyday Nigeria. So, but for me, I'm excited that the government is ambitious, because you need a government that is ambitious. You need a citizen that can support that government to achieve this. But the government must also see young people as partners towards progress. So let them create more incentive, more opportunities to harness these potentials of young people, so that we can increase exportation and that would help stabilize our economy. I'm optimistic that this year would be better. So I share that same vision with Mr. President, and I hope that the people around him would work closely with him to ensure that we achieve this in no time.
Hamzat, thank you so much. I'd like us to get back in the studio now. I'd like to speak with the Reverend Father now. Earlier you spoke, and when the question was on the economy, you said, well, you may not be able to talk about all of that. But listening to Rinsola, a few minutes ago, you hear all the plans, what government has been doing, what government intends to do, and all of that. I'm sure that's how it's always been, even with previous administrations. But if you go on the street and pick young people, the areas she has talked about, just very few would say they feel the impact of government. So I want you to speak on what you think can be done differently. First and foremost, is there a missing link? Like, why are these policies, these great things? Listening to Rinsola, I'm like, wow. But is that what is going to be, for the young person, really? Is there something that is missing in all of those policies, impacting the lives of the average Nigerian? And what you think can be done differently this year, just so that Nigerians can feel government?
First of all, I'd like to thank Rinsola for sharing this insight with us. Listening to her, I was also like you. Wow. You understand? Like, okay, if these are actually plans for the future, then we can say there's some bit of hope, right? But again, the question that kept going through my mind as she spoke was exactly what you're asking now. How does the Nigerian youth on the streets feel the impact of all of these policies. Right, as a clergyman, I deal with young people a lot. I'm a young person myself. Okay, so those regular street young people, we deal with them every day, right? And before she came in, I did say something about setting goals and letting people understand how these goals will be achieved. So if we have all of these beautiful plans, the question that every young Nigerian listening right now will be asking is, okay, how do I get to benefit from all of these plans? That's the big question, right? And she did say something about those who run nano businesses, those who run POS, for example, maybe those who are wheelbarrow pushers, mobile tailors, all of these people. There are plans for them as well, from what she has shared with us, right? Now, apart from having those plans, how do these people get to know that these plans are actually there, and how they can access these plans? These are the big issues. And like I did say earlier, if we have all of these plans and they are not broken down and communicated adequately, then we will just have policies in principle. And I'm sure that from what she shared, all of us in the studio, we are hearing some of these things for the first time. Some, not all. Maybe we know about some of them, but some of the insights she has shared with us, we are hearing them for the first time. And then we are talking about Nigerians who are not even educated, who can't even read, who have no access, who are not even bothered about checking the news to know that, oh, government has this plan, government has this plan. So as a clergyman dealing with young people, I also will be interested in knowing these people that are in my sphere, how do I tell them that government has these policies for you, government has these plans for your welfare, for your good, and this is how you can access it, this is how you can benefit from it, and this is how you can also contribute to the economic development of the country by assessing, when you assess this projects, these programs, this is how you can also play a part to contribute to the development of the country. So I think that Inshallah will be in a better position to tell us how these things are going to be brought down to the people in the lowest rung of the society.
Of course, she'll tell us. I also have that question for her. You know, my question actually will be, sometimes when all of these things are said, or, when there's this, we touch 10 million people, I'm like, do they come from other countries, benefit and then go away? Because, I don't walk on the street and see one person who tells me, well, I got this. So, how do people benefit? Is it that they have to be in a particular place, or how, all of that? I would like you to break that down for us, really, how you select those who benefit, or how people can, just anybody can benefit as long as you're a Nigerian. But that will be after the break. We need to go for this quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. I just wish the break was recorded, just so you could have a feel of what went down during that break. But very interesting conversation right here in the studio. And I'd like us to get back to Rinsella now, because, the grandfather asked the question. I'm also asking the question. Claire has already said that's also the question on her mind. I'm sure every Nigerian watching you now is, all these policies, all these initiatives. The average Nigerian who doesn't know anyone in the villa, who doesn't know you, who doesn't know any minister, any governor, wants to benefit. How can we do things differently this time? 2025, just so that some of these initiatives and policies of government can touch those who really need it, and not just a few.
So I would want to make reference to one of the initiatives I spoke about earlier, which was a nano grants for nano businesses, and that was mostly targeted at young people and women as well, because they're the ones we mostly find in that space. And I do know that was an initiative that I believe was coordinated by the Ministry for Trade and Industry, and there were focal persons at the state level who were in charge of collating the data of beneficiaries eventually. And I also learned that perhaps the data they got was a lot more than the numbers that they could cater to at a certain time. But I'm very aware of the fact that there were lots of beneficiaries, because I happened to to be quite, would I say, grassroots informed. And when people began to receive the grants, it happened in quite a number of trenches. We got reports for those of us who are active at the grassroots level. So that said, if we take 3MTT as well as an example, there was a lot of publicity regarding it. Lots of young people signed up. I know a relative who actually was part of the first cohort that they trained, and it wasn't because I intervened or anything. The application process was open to everybody, and there were lots of young people. You even see them online. It's gotten to the point where there's a community built around it, and they meet up in states at intervals to engage with each other and to network. So that's one other initiative that lots of young people have benefited from. There's the fund as well by BOI that, there's an application portal where people get to apply, and I know the Bank of Industry has their own system where they review applications, communicate to those who have been selected. Smedan as well has a number of there's a particular fund that Smedan introduced in partnership with Sterling Bank aimed at young people who own small businesses. There's NEL Fund, for instance, a student loan initiative that a lot of young people have benefited from. The NEL Fund MD has been touring campuses across the country to engage young people, even where there was some controversy about, who got what and who got that. And one example that I would really like to make with NEL Fund particularly was that when funds were first big initially, a lot of the students who benefited from the loans were from northern institutions, and it was because they engaged. The academic community did not sit down and say, the kids who need help will go and look for it. The students as well did not sit down and say, I don't trust government, so I'm not going to apply. There was no issue of apathy, there was no issue of distrust. They heard about it and they applied for it.
You know why?
They engaged, they organized in very large numbers.
You know why? Sorry to interject. I want to bring in Dr. Lafe. That's also because, like you said, Mr. Sawyer reached out, engaged the MOA, and the MOA is deep in communication about how, and the existence of this facility, and that's how many youths or many students are aware of this facility. So I think going forward in this year, this new year, what should be done probably, maybe from your office, is to deepen the channels of communication so that, these sites and these initiatives are out there for the youth.
If I could also add something quickly.
You may when we come back to you. Dr. Lafe, she talked about security the other time, and I know that security is everybody's responsibility. It's a collective activity, and I'm just wondering, how do you envision interfaith bodies contributing to a peaceful and harmonious existence this year?
Well, you see, every religious leaders, they are very focused, especially when it comes to the issue of security. It's just like on our conversations this morning, I have a lot of reservations to what is happening with our leaders. My dear sister,
religious leaders?
Yes. Religious leaders will have respect for whatever we are doing. But this problem is that lack of communication. As an imam, I think I'm seeing you for the first time. So your office, for example, because you want everybody to benefit with what you are doing so that people can be carried along and know the right thing to do. Go to church, go to mosque, go to so many places. Interfaith, they have a role to play in whatever policy we are doing in this country, because information gets to our people easily through us than any one of you. So with all this one, interfaith, we are also ready to contribute, to do a lot of sensation to our people. Let them realize that government is really working. Let them realize that government are really doing it. The issue of when they ask the young one to apply, they will not even apply because they don't believe. They don't have minds saying, maybe, can this thing be true? Can this thing be okay? Is it true? People can just come out and say, I will receive the money sent to you. And Nigerians are above giving them 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. Let's be realistic. They don't need it. All what they want is that, okay, this is what you plan for us this year. We'll give you the feedback next year. Do this thing for us. We are ready to cooperate with you. By the time you come out, like NOA, for example, customs want to recruit. Are you getting it now? It's almost everywhere because the information got to people early. Although they will not even take all, but almost everybody realize that customs and they want to recruit.
This information is out there.
This information is everywhere. But all what you are saying now, my sister, in fact, I was just looking. Say, okay, you have a very good plan, a very good initiative, a very good thing for Nigerians. For example, the issue of Almajiri. Let's come back home. Almajiri are students of teachers. There are teachers who train Almajiri, who say, okay, this is Almajiri, I have them, so they are on the street. You cannot go to the street and park them without going to the grassroots to see their teachers. It is their teachers will tell you that okay, they brought this one for me to train. Then all of a sudden want to go out and come back. Are you getting it now? You don't just see them with a small pan or whatever like that. They have where they are coming from and they have where they are sleeping. You go back to the teachers of Almajiri and say, okay, you are the teachers. A teacher can have about 1,000 students, Almajiri, or more than that. You go to them and find out from them, how can we assist these children? How can we educate them? Then mother will be telling you, this is what you do. Not that, okay, let's go to the street and arrest them. When you arrest them, will you not release them?
All right.
So,
many thanks, Dr. Alaufe. We're beginning to run out of time, so we quickly want to run round all our guests so that we can round up this conversation. And I'd like to get to Hamzat Lawal, who is in Saudi Arabia. I've been going to Saudi Arabia eventually now. I was there yesterday. I'm there again today, and it looks like I'll be there physically soon. So, but Hamzat, I want you to speak about how we can restore faith in the people, trust in government. Rosala made that point that some of these things are out there, but people are not just interested. They're like, is this real? And most times, when you see a government initiative, say via WhatsApp or something, the next thing you hear is it's fake, it's a scam. People just don't believe that some of these things are real. How can we begin to restore faith now? How can young people, in fact, every Nigerian, have faith in what the government is doing, believing and trusting that this is for good. For example, the tax reform bills. Some of the issues with that is just the fact people don't just trust that government means well. So speak about that.
The most important ingredient in a society and even in a very young and emerging democracy is trust. And sadly, we've already trusted citizens do not trust government. And, for everything to be successful in government initiatives to be successful, we must ensure that citizens trust government. I think first is for government and government officials, either political appointive people or even public officials should communicate more. And I think that there must be some level of accountability. And when government have done wrong, there's nothing wrong to come forward to say they've done wrong. I think Nigerians do not really ask for much. They just need a government that communicates, that talks to them. And I particularly like what Mr. President did with the media chat. And if you look at the feedback and the report, it was quite positive. People want to hear from their political leader. Mr. President is the father of the country, and I think they should have more of those chats, so that he can communicate more to the Nigerians, so they can hear directly from him, and he can, answer questions from those gray areas that no one truly can touch. But I think that government spokespersons must speak more, must communicate more, and also open a channel for feedback, where citizens can continue to give feedback. And when there are grievances, we should have mechanism in place. Those grievances should be addressed. And I think if we can do that, then people will start trusting government. But there must be consequences, because you cannot lead a government where there are no consequences. So Mr. President must always yield the hammer when his appointees are not doing the right thing, or when there are reports of them found wanting, or when there is some petition and investigations are carried out. What next? There must be consequences for this action. And if Mr. President can do this, I believe that the Nigerian people can start rolling back on trust and supporting their government as they continue to serve, to deliver on their various promises to the Nigerian people.
Let's come back here, Reverend Father Anna. I'm sure that what Nigerians would also love to see this happen this year is to live in peace with one another, to be able to relate with one another, not as a Christian, not as a Muslim, not as Igbo, not as Yoruba, Hausa, Yoruba, or whatever, but as Nigerians. And unfortunately, some people use religion to misfire. What do you hope to see from our religious leaders happen this year with regards to that?
On average, if you ask me, in my opinion, Nigerians are peaceful people, and we really do not care what someone's religious or political affiliation is. We relate with each other very freely, but unfortunately and very sadly so, the embers of religious sentiments and political sentiments have been put between us, and now they separate us. I will speak from the point of religion, being a religious leader myself. I think that we have a lot of work to do. Nigerians are very religious people. More than 99% of Nigerians, I would say, are either Christians or Muslims. Only very few practice African traditional religion. So either they are going to the churches or they are going to the mosques. This means, therefore, that priests, pastors, bishops, imams, all of us, we have a role to play. We must continually teach our people, remind our people that the other person out there is a brother. The other person out there is a sister. We were created in the image and the likeness of God. When God created us, there was no religious divide, there was no political divide. And you will see this with children. When they play around, they do their things together. These things are social constructs. It is the older generation that sow the seeds of these divisions in the minds of the young people. So we must go back to the roots and begin to work on the minds of our people again, to see each other as brothers, as sisters. That's the only way that we can begin to take away these things. Because at the end of the day, we have one common humanity. At the end of the day, regardless of whatever affiliations that we have the same markets we go to. We go to almost the same schools. We drive on the same roads. We go to the same hospitals. We use the same financial institutions. We have the same government. And until we begin to see each other as brothers and sisters, peace will be very far away from us.
Let the man respond before you take so yes.
Well, my pastor has spoken. The religious leaders must be taken very serious in such a way that go to them for advice, let them pray for this country, let them have a very good mindset to say that the government succeed. Because once Nigeria succeed, the leaders succeeding, everybody will make it. But at the same time, let us be focused. Anything you see that is not good, honestly tell them to their face. Let them get the message from you. As a religious leader, you are not expecting anything from anybody. But if they do wrong, tell them the truth. For example, if they say, okay, Agric, CBN is releasing billions of naira to Agric. Let me tell you, the director in that ministry has poultry farm. So they will call out the whole thing. In fact, it will even come out for any young, medium, this thing, you will not get it. At the end of the day, nothing comes up. So that is the area. There are a lot of challenges everywhere that religious leaders are just keeping quiet, keep on praying to God. But when it's come to the truth like this, let's say the truth. They have not been treated very, very well. The information is not even getting to them. It's only when there are problems, they will come and say, okay, please, security threat. So let us talk to our people so they should not have any thing. But when it comes to the issue of financial assistance, they never come to the mosque or go to the church. So government should do something to always reach out to the religious leaders so they can be able to help, because we are one as far as Nigeria is concerned.
Thank you very much. I think I like your thoughts on that one. Winston, I will rounding off the conversation. Of course, if I ask you about government, you tell me government is doing everything. But tell me what you think the people should do just to support government.
I believe there's a need to respond to a couple of things, because we can't be talking about citizens having apathy.
60 seconds.
Sure. We can't talk about citizens having apathy and then just believing whatever it is that is announced is not going to work, without also addressing comments like the ones that have been made by the Imam. There are lots of young people who would say they won't apply for jobs by NNPC, for instance, because they already believe that they won't get it. I don't think that's the way to go forward. And I would also like to encourage young people particularly to seek out opportunities that they can take advantage of. Agencies like BOI exist, SMEDAN, they exist, we know about them, MITSTA exists. They should also do their part. They should also play their part to try and get information that can be beneficial to them. These agencies do the most that they can with the resources available to them to publicize their initiatives. Young people as well need to prioritize these things to know what is going on and what they can benefit from. We can only do our best. NOA will do its best. Young people will do their best. Government agencies will do their best. Young people should also please try to actually seek out information that could be beneficial for them.
All right, many thanks, Rintola. As we round up the conversation, let's hear the final thoughts from Hamzat Lawal. Hamzat, in 30 seconds, just speak about any issue that we need to address in 2025 to be a better nation.
Nigeria is a great country. Each and every one of us have a role to play. Let us play our part. Let us support our government.
All right, that was brief and to the point. Many thanks, Hamzat Lawal, Chief Executive, Connected Development Code, and founder, Follow the Money. Many thanks for joining us, and looking forward to seeing you when you get back in the country, and of course right here in the studio. Thank you so much, Hamzat Lawal. We also want to appreciate Reverend Father Ahmed Silvanus, Director, Radio Maria 91.3 FM Abuja. Many thanks for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And of course, Dr. Musa Alaufe, Chief Imam and Saudi Society of Nigeria Abuja Branch, and Associate Professor of Islamic Studies and the HOD Islamic Studies Department, University of Abuja. Many thanks for being our guest. And Rinsola Abiola, Senior Special Assistant to the President in Citizenship and Leadership. It was a pleasure to have you. Looking forward to having you some other time to talk about some of these initiatives for 2025.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's Good Morning Nigeria on the first day of 2025. So much, for the year, and I just hope that, you stick with your resolutions and pray and support the government to make Nigeria work. I'm Ray John. See you tomorrow.
All right, the year just started. We've just opened the box. Join us again tomorrow. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Enjoy the rest of your day.